A very warm welcome to all of you here on behalf of Sister Nivedita University. I think I'd rather use this mic. As they say that it says, relooking BIMSTEC 2025. As you all know that the 6th BIMSTEC Summit was held on the 6th of April 2025 at Bangkok. It was hosted by Thailand. It's now being hosted here in India, but it's not really the BIMSTEC Summit. A lot of things were discussed there, and today we have entitled this day-long discussion as Relooking BIMSTEC 2025. And what we are going to stress on today, the theme is the importance of paperless trade for economic integration and facilitating free trade agreements here in BIMSTEC. In BIMSTEC, the Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation, paperless trade offers a transformative path towards deeper economic integration and more efficient free trade agreement. It accelerates and gives us more predictable trade flows among member countries. It promotes stronger compliance with environmental, labor, and sustainability standards through standardized digital records. It ensures enhanced investor confidence and increased intra-BIMSTEC trade and investment. It also promotes a robust foundation for regional value chains, tourism, services integration, so on and so forth. It enhances efficiency and speed, digital submission, processing, clearing of trade documents, which will reduce lead times, lower transaction costs, and streamline border procedures. It ensures transparency and predictability. It ensures cost reduction and competitiveness. It also does trade facilitation and inclusive growth. Digital trade procedures, as we all know, enable broader participation by smaller businesses and underserved regions within BIMSTEC. It also promotes support for deeper regional integration. Now, we will discuss all and some of these certainly during the course of the day's proceedings. We are indeed grateful for the presence of so many young students, today being a holiday here at the university. So many people are here, and such distinguished guests and speakers from across various disciplines who are here. Now, to set things moving, may I request our Pro-Chancellor of the university, Professor Dhrubajyoti Chattopadhyay, to kindly come up here and give a welcome address, after which we will felicitate the dignitaries.
A very good morning to all of you present over here. As already my friend Biplab has given some background of this, let me first welcome my dear students who are from our various departments interested in studying this international relationship. And that's why they are present over here. And we have certain scholars also over here, not only from our university, but from other universities also. The distinguished guests, the faculty members, staff members, and others of our university. At the onset, on behalf of Sister Nivedita University, which started its journey in 2018 only. And on behalf of our beloved Chancellor, Shottam Rai Chaudhuri, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to you all to this very special conference titled Relooking BIMSTEC 2025. We are privileged and extremely happy to have the august presence of His Excellency Ambassador Indramani Pandey, the Secretary General BIMSTEC, Secretariat as a chief guest. We would also like to welcome the main person for whom actually it's possible for us to organize this conference in SNU, Mr. Avijit Chakraborty, the Joint Secretary of Indian Council of World Affairs, Government of India, for their kind presence at this conference today. Besides that, we have number of speakers over here who are going to deliver their comments during the panel discussion, valedictory session, and also in the inaugural session. We're indeed lucky to have a rich and varied panel consisting of these think tanks, senior academicians, the representatives from Exim Bank, which we sincerely hope will be able to discuss at length the interplay of overlapping sub-regional cooperation in South and Southeast Asia, converging towards improving the intra-regional trade. Now, as all of you know, that BIMSTEC, comprising the 5 countries from South Asia and 2 from the Southeast Asia, bordering the Bay of Bengal, seeks to promote economic integration and connectivity in the Bay of Bengal region. Although the grouping has long envisioned a regional free trade area, progress has been very slow due to structural barriers such as inefficient customs procedures, lack of regulatory harmonizations, and cumbersome documentation requirements. So the paperless trade represents a transformative mechanism that can simplify cross-border procedures, which will reduce these transaction costs and build the institutional and infrastructure required for a functioning FTA. At its core, paperless trade enhances trade facilitations by digitizing the numerous documents required in international trade. And for BIMSTEC economies, which vary widely in administrative capacity and technological infrastructure, such digital solutions can substantially reduce the trade costs. Studies have shown that trade facilitation measures such as automated custom systems, electronic single window mechanism, and digital certifications significantly improve the efficiency of border processes. In recent initiatives, regional programs have sought to promote automated custom systems and the electronic exchange of clearances and digital risk management tools across the BIMSTEC member states. So paperless trade is crucial for the successful implementation of this BIMSTEC free trade agreement. Another major advantage of paperless trade lies in its potential to reduce the trade cost and enhance the competitiveness. And these procedures not only increase that and discourage small and medium enterprises from participating in international trade, which are going to be removed by this. And in addition, paperless trade promotes greater participation of SMEs and emerging entrepreneurs in regional commerce. And from an environmental perspective, paperless trade also supports sustainable economic development. So, it is vital enabler of economic integration among BIMSTEC countries. As BIMSTEC moves towards a deeper regional cooperation and the realization of its free trade area, the establishment of a comprehensive paperless trade framework will be indispensable. In many ways, the digital trade facilitation represents the technological foundation upon which the future economic integration of the Bay of Bengal region will be built. And in that respect, I just want to mention that today, whatever discussions will be going on, it's going to definitely help specifically to our next generation students to understand how important is this today's program. So in conclusion, let me say that today's conference would focus on these various aspects of introducing paperless trade within the BIMSTEC countries, and to continue with this, the common agenda of economic integration at the same pace. Introduction of paperless trade seems to be imperative at this point. To me, this could only be the game changer in terms of removing obstacles that BIMSTEC countries are presently facing due to imposition of safety protocols. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm sure that it's going to be a very, very important conference from where we are going to have a lot of take-home messages. Namaskar.
Pro-Chancellor, Professor Dhrupajyoti Chattopadhyay, thank you very much for your very warm welcome address. We will now hear from the first speaker of the day. It's a special address. And this is Dr. Probit De, Professor at the Center for Maritime Economy and Connectivity, CMEC, at Research and Information System for Developing Countries, RIS, New Delhi. He has more than 3 decades of full-time research and teaching experiences in India and abroad. He works in the field of international economics and his research interests in international trade and development. He has been conducting policy research for the Government of India and several national and international organizations, including several United Nations agencies and multilateral development organizations. He's a Kolkata boy. That makes us very proud. He graduated from Scottish Church College, studied his master's in economics from Calcutta University, the famous Katakol, and has a PhD in economics from Jadavpur University. He was a visiting fellow of the Institute of Developing Economies, IDE JETRO, Japan, the Asian Development Bank Institute, ADB, Tokyo, Korea Institute for International Economic Policy, Seoul, and visiting senior fellow of United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, UNESCAP. He has contributed several research papers in international journals and written books on trade and development. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. Probit De for the special address. And I would request the Pro-Vice Chancellor Administration of Sister Nivedita University, Professor Supratim Sen, to kindly walk up, please, and greet Dr. Probit De on our behalf, please. Dr. Probit De. Professor Supratim Sen, Pro-VC Administration, will felicitate Dr. De before he makes his special address. Books edited by our Chancellor, Shottam Roy Chaudhary, a very special calendar and a coffee table book cum diary on Vande Mataram, created this year by the group. The usual gift for a learned man, a pen, and of course, the memento for the day. Dr. Probit Dey with his special address, please.
So, very good morning to all of you, particularly the students who have come despite the holiday, and the many dignitaries here. Like to acknowledge the presence of Ambassador Indravani Pandey and the Secretary General of BIMSTEC, our former Ambassador Sharbajit Chakraborty sir, and many friends, colleagues, Pro-Chancellor of the University, and many dignitaries, Admiral Roy, and I can remember Sachi Dotto, Vipul Chatterjee, and many, and of course the person who has connected me here, Mr. Mukherjee, from the university. It's a great pleasure coming to here, but unfortunately that I have to speak in the Queen's language, which I don't want to. I would prefer to speak in Bangla, but I think given the opportunity, and some kind of formalities that I need to continue with presenting the subject in English. So, but can you show these slides here on there? Because the time I was allotted 10 minutes, and such a subject requests more time than 10. And this is very special, in a very, very narrow area, cross-border paperless trade. Many of it is actually, yes, it has come. So how do I change the slide? Like that. Okay, excellent. But what I'm going to do for the next 10 minutes, basically to give you an overview. There are more competent people sitting here who can talk much better, with better articulation than me. So I'll try to bring what's happening in the neighborhood, why BIMSTEC or Bay of Bengal region is so important. And then I will come back at the end, some takeaways, because students in particular who are international relations, international economics, they would like to take some conclusions, First thing is, what is the BIMSTEC? Basically, it is an official form of the regional cooperation of the Bay of Bengal countries. By the way, the members of the BIMSTEC, they call themselves, we are member states, not member nations or member countries. When they decide to talk themselves, that identify themselves as a member states, means very deep relation, They have decided to give up their sovereign identity as a country or a nation. They talk more about a member states like European Union member states or ASEAN member states, like that. Three things on the Bay of Bengal: it has a very strong civilization link, shared culture, and common water. That's the reason, basically, when the regional cooperation 1997, it was designed and elevated to an track 1 initiative. Before that, there in the region, from Calcutta, from Bangkok, from Dhaka, some things are in the track 1.5 and track 2 was happening. 1997, it got a leaderships. All the nations head, they joined, they shook hand, and then, the journey begins. We are going to celebrate 30th establishment year just a few years from now, and I'm sure Ambassador Pandey sir will talk more about it. Now, what is the crux of the coming 7 countries coming together? One reason is that SAARC in 1997 was not in good shape. There are issues between Pakistan and India. Regional cooperation and integration works well only when the member states, they don't have a conflict at the border. You pick up any regional cooperation, if the member state they're fighting, that regional cooperation doesn't work. BIMSTEC in 1997 was that all the 7, 5 initial, 2 later joined, Bhutan and Nepal. They don't have any border conflicts and very severe, geopolitical conflicts of that. Now, what we see, over time of 29 years plus, that India's northeastern regions, is becoming a pivot. When India's active policy, India's foreign policy is concerned, and Bay of Bengal is more about an economic integration, it is connectivity story, it's a trade facilitation story, not in a political union. The discussion is presently not happening. There was some discussion when Excellency Ambassador Pandey took over. In his few speeches, he was talking about there are more Bay of Bengal countries like Malaysia, Singapore, or Indonesia. Can we also bring them? That's discussion. But anyway, I don't want to go in detail. So, in short, the Bay of Bengal is the most happening place. There are many things here, like, sorry, how do we move this? Yeah, no. If I need to go back, how do I go back? Can anybody help me? Slides, go back. You don't have changer? Anyway, I. Tell me. You want to go back? Yeah, go back. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Now, in the last 30 years, we started in 1996 the feasibility report. All the way, we had a 6 very successful summit under the secretariat guided by Ambassador Pandey, and then we have several activities. No time, and I would like to skip them, like signing of a charter. Regional cooperation organization works when the rules are specified. And the Secretary General is the head of that club, BIMSTEC club. So if the rules are defined, then things are, so charter is actually that. So the constitution of the BIMSTEC has been signed, connectivity master plan has been done, maritime cooperation agreement is signed, and so lots actually signed, but one can ask a question, how many of them are really active? We will do much discussion later on. Two things for us discussion and the rapporteurs or some proceedings when you are going to design. One is that motor vehicle agreement. We have a trilateral highway going from India to other BIMSTEC member states, and a free trade agreement. These two are ongoing. Okay, now let's come to such an introduction. What's that? Is that BIMSTEC is going to be a panacea for our need and requirements in 7 countries. So we need to understand what's happening in the neighborhood. Because of the several crises, we are all over the world, we have been facing this kind of poly crisis. In short, don't have much time to go each and every point. In short, it says that these are the shared challenges. All 7 member states of the BIMSTEC, they are facing shipping crises. That's initially Pro-Vice Chancellor rightly articulated, all those of them. So a shared challenge and shared response is required from the BIMSTEC Secretariat. And that's what we expect. Some of the studies that we did in RIS, some simulations, the numbers, doing some econometrics. Basically, most of the BIMSTEC states, member states, except Bhutan, they are in the medium to high impact zone if the war continues in the Gulf, and like that. So, and the BIMSTEC of the interregional trade, which is 7% compared to other regional organizations, low, but no point of comparing with ASEAN or something else. It doesn't target. The leaders took a decision, can we extend it to 8%? So we are expecting by 2026, this year, the regional trade volume is going to touch 60 billion to 68 billion. That is touching 8%. And by 2029, it's going to be 9%. So, and if you see the car moving from 1990 to 2023, it's quite a healthy, you don't expect, 100 billion trade every day because there are barriers in which Pro-Vice Chancellor Sir has rightly accepted. What's the big thing that under Secretary General and the leadership of our Ministry of External Affairs, BIMSTEC division, this maritime cooperation agreement has been signed, ratified. Presently, the standard operating procedure is being chalked out. What is the advantage of Calcutta, West Bengal, eastern part is that there are very deep thoughts in designing the maritime cooperation. For example, national carrier of Bangladesh, they come here, using the rivers, the national inner waterways, or national carrier of Myanmar or the 7 member states. When they fly from one country to another country, there are a lot of relaxations have been given just to promote, maritime transport. So maritime is, the key focus. And on that point, you know that there is a project called Kaladan Multimodal Transit from connecting to Kolkata to Situate Port. And I'm sure our Professor Subir Bhomik must be laughing inside that what I'm talking about. This is a long project, but just a few years back, the port at the Situate in the Myanmar has been inaugurated by our Honorable Minister, Mr. Sonowal, and the port has been operational, but connecting port with the Mizoram, that part is not yet done, and there are many reasons for it. This is not the forum to just discuss. Looking at such, development in the BIMSTEC, private sector is coming forward. There are other stakeholders from the northeastern region that are coming forward. There are some green pasture is coming up, right? Before 2024 and the Bangladesh uprising, before of that, this was the scenario that one, Tata Company's semiconductor plant, 27,000 crore in Assam, Galafo Mindfulness City, several small projects. There is no time of going in details. And the thing so what we see, before July 2024, that we were talking about connecting Agartala with Kolkata by railway line, etc. So this was actually the scenario we are moving as an outcome of a very deep, integration of programs went into the BIMSTEC. Let me see from here. I have 5 more minutes to end. That what can be done, maybe for those who are doing a proceedings or writing, some recommendations. It's possible when you talk about a paperless state, that a regional single window, those who are here from customs, that we need to file documents before arriving of our goods. Nepal Consul General is here. He has a lot of issues with the Calcutta port, Haldia port. So what I'm suggesting, and one kind of recommendations, is that very much possible regional customs single window. That's one. We don't have no time to go in details. 7 member states, they have lots of electronic documentation in the name of paperless state. They do, but they don't exchange. So signature issues, signature signed by custom officer in India, not acknowledged by the Thailand. So only 2 countries, that is India and Thailand, they have made good progress individually, but regional paperless trade require cross-border. There's a lot of further works. Here, India has some best practices to offer. India's paperless trade example, India has very strong capacity in soft infrastructure like paperless trade. We have a 98% of all of our Indian goods, except the defense transaction, all are routed through our software called SWIFT. Mostly 98% of trade documentation for all our global trade transaction is digitized. So in short, so India can offer a lot of best practices to them. When you offer an best practices like software, these are also very much required, hardware to follow, or sometimes hardware is going, you go software. You may not be knowing in Calcutta here that India has done, along with our stakeholders and partners and private sector, this kind of international corridor. Today we are importing the Russian oil, so we are using this corridor called Eastern Mediterranean Corridor from Vladivostok to Chennai. This is not in paper, this is operational. Similarly, the trilateral highway, which is working at the moment is not there. INSPC corridor, and there is a proposal to connect to our ports in India going to Middle East and then to, to Mediterranean, like IMEC. So there are many projects in Delhi. There are think tanks all the time, 24/7 basis, they are doing it. So in short, I conclude, that these are in the neighborhood, a situation that in India is a better placed when you talk about regional and the global. Question obviously comes that, sometime we talk more just to do some business, just for a profit mind. But you need to understand, really we are strong inside. So this Vikshit Bharat 2047, this word and these 2047 things may be very new in Calcutta because of political reasons. But this is a project very much, in active. This India's journey to 30 trillion, and there are many, many new things which I have highlighted in that. So these will attract regional partners that if we have a high speed, then obviously other countries will follow that. When I talk about a high speed, I give an example in 2008 and 2024 in China. There is no harm comparing anything with the China. We want this comparison for good purpose. 2008, there was no high speed. In 2024, 159,000 kilometers of high speed. This is not a regional cooperation, by the way. This is in capital investments. But look at in India, the 7 new high speed, plus 1, which is coming up next year, Ahmedabad to Delhi. I think by 2030, or 2047, India's scenario will be like this. So look at the journey that India is doing and kind of, the spectrum kind of arrangements that India will be offering. I skip on the paperless trade I have discussed because of the time. Last slide, what's the way forward? That's I was talking in the morning in my presentation. What is the way forward? The take-care is, if you pick up any region or sub-region in the world at the moment, only the Bay of Bengal is the happening place. All have just choked up, either for maritime front or some security front or some trade front. Bay of Bengal and ASEAN, mostly because they are the Buddhist nations. They are the Hindu civilization. There is a cultural civilization is very strong in the Eastern world. So that's what I found out that this is possible, that why it is a golden hurdle. Plus high economic potentials, mostly unrealized. So if there is unrealization, this BIMSTEC cross-border paperless trade gives lots of opportunity. Plus connectivity, master plan ready, secretariat is there. I think the Excellency is sitting here. I have no hesitation to tell him that he requires, or his successor will be requiring lots of financial support, lots of people. EU Secretariat has 1,000 people, so also ASEAN 1,000. Secretariat is basically an engine. So they also need a lot of empowerment in addition of the capacity. And there are many others which this is the 30th year celebration, and the project like cross-border paperless trade is going to add lots of value, a kind of functional, transactional arrangements. And I have highlighted the prioritization, in the table, which is already have discussed. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Not at all, not at all. Truly wonderful, Dr. Probit Dey, very illuminating address. So moving ahead, we'll have an address by our guest of honor. In fact, the Indian Council for World Affairs has been very instrumental in facilitating this very important day-long seminar with us. And to deliver this address is a very distinguished diplomat who has taken the pains to come to us all the way from New Delhi here. And this is Mr. Abhijit Chakraborty, a career diplomat, joined the Indian Foreign Service in 2006, has served in countries as diverse as South Africa, various geographies, Czechoslovakia, France, and Rwanda. I don't know whether I've left out any others. So in various geographies he has served. And he's Joint Secretary of ICWA. ICWA promotes the study of Indian and international affairs so as to develop a body of informed opinion on international matters. It also promotes India's relations with other countries through study, research, discussions, lectures, exchange of ideas and information with other organizations within and outside India engaged in similar activities. Mr. Chakraborty has also served in the ASEAN Multilateral Division of the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. With these few words, may I welcome Mr. Abhijit Chakraborty here, and may I request Shumanto Basu, our registrar, So Registrar Sir will now come up and greet Mr. Chakraborty before he delivers his address as the guest of honor. Thank you, Registrar. Mr. Chakraborty.
His Excellency, Ambassador Indramani Pandey, Secretary General BIMSTEC, and I'm proud to say my senior in the Indian Foreign Service, Professor Sattam Raychaudhuri, Dr. Prabir De, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So, Indian Council of World Affairs take great pleasure in co-organizing this seminar on facilitating cross-border paperless trade in BIMSTEC. Before I begin, I would like to thank Dr. Prabir De for providing context and setting the tone for the conference with an excellent overview of the BIMSTEC and what it stands for. BIMSTEC as an organization would be celebrating its 30th anniversary next year. In this context, it will surely be organizing a series of commemorative events, and in its own way, I hope this conference would become one of the pre-anniversary events contributing to enhancing understanding and discussion on BIMSTEC. The main aim of this regional group is the promotion of economic cooperation between countries bordering the Bay of Bengal. It has initially focused on 6 sectors for cooperation. In 1997, they are trade, technology, energy, transport, tourism, and fisheries. The seminar's topic, paperless trade, intersects cooperation in 2 key sectors, trade and technology. In a financial world increasingly shaped by digitalization and regulation, paperless trade is the bridge that connects efficient commerce with secure, inclusive, and future-ready systems. To the relevant stakeholders, paperless trade is increasingly seen as the answer to supply chain disruption and a means to reduce operational costs. The key question is no longer whether companies will digitize, but how quickly they can move from isolated digital steps to fully integrated end-to-end processes within their existing systems. In this context, I recall Para 10 of the BIMSTEC Summit Declaration of April 2025, which encourages relevant officials of member states to explore the possibility of establishing a digital cross-border payment system and trade settlement with local currencies. This shows BIMSTEC's commitment to support the adoption of paperless trade systems across member states. Its benefits have been outlined by the Secretary General, Ambassador Pandey, who has observed that a shared digital payment system can significantly reduce reliance on cash, lower transaction costs, and enhance financial transparency, thereby strengthening trust, in regional trade and investment. Business community stakeholders can benefit from capacity building workshops where they can be trained and equipped with the capability to utilize paperless trade systems effectively. Recently, two workshops were held in January and July 2025 between BIMSTEC members on cross-border paperless trade and digital trade facilitation, which is a welcome development. Discussions we are going to have today on the legal framework and on the possibilities of a FTA are welcome efforts towards enhancing digital connectivity, which is noted as a critical area in the BIMSTEC Master Plan for Transport Connectivity. As BIMSTEC pushes for greater acceptance of paperless trade, the youth of the shared Bay of Bengal region, including the students present here, would expect to benefit from targeted fintech and digital trade education and training. Upskilling opportunities can be created in electronic transferable records, blockchain-based supply chain tracking, UPI-linked cross-border payment, and interoperable e-documentation platforms. These emerging roles can translate into jobs in the digital economy, enabling the next generation to become active architects of efficient, low-cost regional trade while driving innovation, entrepreneurship, and sustainable prosperity across the Bay of Bengal region. I conclude my remarks by thanking the co-organizers, Sister Nivedita University, for working closely with ICWA in putting together this conference. I also extend my thanks and convey my appreciation to the distinguished guests and our panelists for taking time out of their busy schedule to grace this occasion and share their valuable insights and observations with us. Thank you.
Mr. Chakravarti, thanks very much. We will now hear from the chief guest for the inaugural session, none other than the Secretary General of BIMSTEC, His Excellency, Ambassador Pandey. Let me talk a little bit about you, and then I'll invite you up here. Ambassador Indramani Pandey, Secretary General, BIMSTEC Secretariat. His Excellency Indramani Pandey is a career diplomat. He joined the IFS in 1990. So before his current assignment, he served as the permanent representative of India to the United Nations and other international organizations in Geneva. He had earlier served as additional secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs in charge of disarmament and international security affairs division. During his 33-year-long, this must be an old CV, during a 36-year-long career as an Indian diplomat. Is that right? Yeah. Ambassador Pandey has served as ambassador of India to the Sultanate of Oman. Before his ambassadorial assignment in Muscat, he served as deputy ambassador of India to France and consul general of India at Guangzhou, China. Ambassador Pandey has also served in various diplomatic capacities at the Indian missions in Cairo, Damascus, Syria, debatably the world's oldest populated city, Islamabad, Sri Lanka, Maldives, and Myanmar division. During October 98-99, Ambassador Pandey attended foreign service programs at Oxford University. In 2009, he attended the 49th annual course on national security and strategy conducted by the National Defense College of India. So we have an illustrious diplomat today amongst us, His Excellency Ambassador Indramani Pandey. Sir, would you deliver your address? And may I request, who is here? Oh, the Pro-Chancellor of SNU, Professor Chattopadhyay, Dhruvajyoti Chattopadhyay is here. I will request Professor Chattopadhyay to felicitate Ambassador Pandey. So an Uttariyo, this is a Katha stage. This is like traditional to rural Bengal, primarily from the villages near Shantiniketan in Birbhum. The memento, the pen, a collection of the teachings on and by Sri Ramakrishna, edited by our Chancellor, and of course, the very specially designed calendar and coffee table book on our national song, its history and perspectives, Vande Mataram, this app. Thank you, Chancellor, Professor Chattopadhyay, Pro-Chancellor, Professor Chattopadhyay, and Ambassador Pandey.
Professor Satyam Chaudhary, Chancellor, SNU, Professor Dhruv Jyoti, distinguished panelists, my colleague Sri Abhijit Chakrabarti, Joint Secretary at ICWA, Dr. Prabir De, RIS, Sri Sabyasachi Mukherjee, my dear friend from ASEAN Confluence, distinguished professors, students from SNU and from other universities, dear friends, a very good morning to you, Namaskar. To begin with, I would like to thank the university for very warm welcome extended to me and for presenting books and other mementos. I'm delighted to join this conference, which is focused on facilitating trade amongst the BIMSTEC countries. I'm grateful to SNU and ICWA for organizing it and inviting the BIMSTEC Secretariat to participate in it. Before I share with you the progress we have made in implementing the initiatives that we have taken to enhance intra-BIMSTEC trade, and I'm not an expert like Dr. Prabir De, I would like to remind ourselves that the world today is confronting its worst crisis since the Second World War. When I joined Indian Foreign Service in 1990, during our training, we used to have extensive debates about the end of Cold War and the emergence of a new world order. Now, 35 years later, we are witnessing end of that international order, and we are still not sure what kind of new international order would emerge. We'll see. It's for students and scholars to debate about what kind of order is going to emerge and to learn from the churn that the current international order is going through. There is a growing energy crisis with a disruption in supply of oil and gas from the Gulf countries, which will have cascading impact on global trade and other sectors of global economy. The war in Gulf region has impacted adversely the countries both in South Asia and Southeast Asia, including India and other 6 BIMSTEC member states. As I noted, international rules-based order has broken down. International laws, including international trade laws, are being violated, and trade protectionism has grown globally. Hopefully, the forthcoming 14th Ministerial Conference of WTO should be able to deal with some of the challenges confronting the international trade system. With global multilateralism under stress, due to downsizing of various UN and international organizations on account of the financial constraints that they are facing, the salience of other ways of multilateralism, what we call plurilateralism, regional multilateralism, and minilateralism has grown. Regional organizations like BIMSTEC are being seen as the best available platforms to forge cooperation among the countries of a region like Bay of Bengal. Why so? Because regional organizations bring together a small number of countries from a region which faces shared security and developmental challenges, and which they realize that they cannot deal with alone. Hence, they are inclined to work together, to cooperate to deal with those challenges. Also, regional organizations at times are more effective and efficient due to their small membership, which makes it easy for them to build consensus and find acceptable solutions. Also, regional organizations are not impacted in the same way by the global crisis as the global multilateral organizations. The BIMSTEC member states and Dr. Prabir Dey spoke extensively about some of the points which I am going to make. Located adjacent and close to Bay of Bengal, the largest bay of the world, face similar developmental and transnational security challenges. Also, countries of our region realize that they cannot deal with these challenges alone. Hence, they have been keen to forge cooperation under BIMSTEC. Their shared civilizational legacies, historical experiences, and cultural linkages provide a strong foundation for cooperation, both bilaterally and regionally. Although many of you would be very familiar with BIMSTEC, but as its Secretary General, let me speak briefly about the evolution of BIMSTEC. In 1997, when it was founded, it was conceived as a platform which will facilitate cooperation among the countries of South Asia and Southeast Asia. If you would recall, at that time, countries from South Asia are looking towards it. India has Look East policy, and at the same time, countries from Southeast Asia were also keen to forge cooperation with countries from South Asia, and hence BIMSTEC was conceived as a platform to bring together the two regions. And when Myanmar joined, then we had actually two countries from Southeast Asia and three from South Asia working together on this platform. Subsequently, Nepal and Bhutan also joined, and that's how in 2004, BIMSTEC was given a geographical connotation, Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Cooperation. During past almost 29 years of its existence, BIMSTEC has made some progress. What I have realized that many of significant progress made by BIMSTEC is not well known because there hasn't been much focus on highlighting that. As Dr. Dey mentioned, we have our own charter, which provides us with an international legal personality that we can enter with MOUs and agreement with other countries and international organizations. We have all the requisite core and sectoral mechanisms that we need. When I talk about core mechanisms, I refer to the regular summits, meetings of the foreign ministers, meetings of the sectoral ministers, senior officials meeting, and numerous expert groups and working groups working on different agenda items. In various sectors, not only we have sectoral working groups, but also in some sectors we have meetings of senior officials and ministers. Over the years, BIMSTEC has evolved a comprehensive agenda based on consensus, comprising 18 sectors of cooperation. They have been clubbed together in 7 groups. And at the 5th summit in Colombo, it was decided to designate for each group one of the 7 member states as lead member states. And if I may take 1 minute of your time to describe the sectors and the lead member states. So Bangladesh leads in trade, investment and development and blue economy sectors. Bhutan leads in environment and climate change and mountain economy sectors. India leads cooperation in security, energy and disaster management sectors. Myanmar leads cooperation in agriculture and food security, animal husbandry and fisheries sectors. Nepal leads in very important sectors like tourism, culture, people-to-people relations, and poverty alleviation. Sri Lanka leads cooperation in sectors like science, technology, and innovation, human resource development, and health. And finally, Thailand leads very important sector of connectivity. So you can see that almost all the uh, sustainable development goals are covered by BIMSTEC. And in security sector too, we have a very comprehensive agenda covering cyber security, maritime security, human security, and of course, counter-terrorism, cooperation in preventing drug trafficking. BIMSTEC has also created very requisite frameworks for cooperation. As I mentioned, we have action plan in almost all the sectors which are being implemented. We have already created 2 centers of excellence which are functional, BIMSTEC Center for Weather and Climate and BIMSTEC Center for Energy. BIMSTEC Technology Transfer Facility is soon going to be operationalized. It will be located in Colombo. And BIMSTEC Cultural Industries Observatory is located in Paro, Bhutan, and it will become operational soon too. We have negotiated and concluded a number of agreements and conventions and MOUs. We already have the Convention on Counterterrorism and Transnational Crime under implementation. The Convention on Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters is to be ratified by just one more member state, and then it will become operational. We are in the process of negotiating conventions on extradition, transfer of convicted persons, and also in human trafficking. Dr. Day already mentioned about recently the agreement that we signed on maritime transport cooperation, but we have in other areas of security action plans already negotiated and under implementation. Going beyond the initiatives taken by our member states, we have also been engaged with our external partners. Asian Development Bank has been our partner for the last 20 years. We have recently started implementation of an agreement with a project in cooperation with the World Bank in health sector. We have MOUs with United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. We have MOU with Indian Ocean Rim Association and also International Food Policy Research Institute. Going beyond that, we have been working with UN Department for Disaster Relief, UNDRR. We have also been working with UNCTAD, World Health Organization, World Intellectual Property Organization, ITU, and ASEAN also. We have been working together on some projects. So BIMSTEC is trying to explore opportunities for cooperation with other organizations. And now our doors are open for observers and new members since the charter came into force. What are the core strengths of BIMSTEC? The abiding support of all its member states, the non-political character of BIMSTEC. We have remained focused on forging cooperation, avoiding divisive political issues, our ability to act as a bridge between South Asia and Southeast Asia. As you are aware, 7 BIMSTEC member states together are home to 1.8 billion people. Our combined GDP is about $5 trillion and the external trade amounts to $3 trillion. Let me briefly mention here that soon we'll complete 30 years of our existence on 6 June 2027. So beginning with 6 June 2026, we'll have year-long events hosted by our member states to celebrate the 30th anniversary. I invite all the think tanks, academic institutions also to join in celebration and organize special events to commemorate 30th anniversary of BIMSTEC. And here particularly I would request SNU to take lead in doing so. Let me briefly mention about India, its role. As you are aware, India is a founding member of BIMSTEC, but also a very important member of BIMSTEC because of not only its size, but also its a huge capacity to take forward regional cooperation. BIMSTEC represents a confluence of India's very important strands of foreign policy, which as students you would be aware, India's neighborhood first policy, India's Act East policy, the philosophy of Sagar, which is security and growth for all in the region, and also the paradigm of promoting South-South cooperation, where BIMSTEC represents a shining example. BIMSTEC has always been given a very high priority by Government of India. As at the 6th summit, Prime Minister announced more than 20 points of action for BIMSTEC to take forward cooperation in different areas, and all those points of action are being implemented vigorously. Here I would like to also underline the centrality of India's eastern and northeastern states, including West Bengal, in BIMSTEC due to their geographical proximity to 4 other BIMSTEC member states, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Myanmar, and Nepal. So this region becomes central to not only the initiatives to promote BIMSTEC cooperation, but also as a major beneficiary of the outcomes of that cooperation, including better connectivity, more trade, more travel, more tourism, more cultural exchanges. There is therefore a self-evident need for enhancing the role of India's eastern and northeastern states in BIMSTEC. And I'm glad that many academic institutions are taking the lead in taking forward the agenda of BIMSTEC. I'm not an expert on trade-related matters, so I won't be talking about in paperless trade. But let me briefly mention what we have done so far in trade sector for benefit of the students and professors who are here. Trade and investment has always been an important sector on our agenda. In 2004, that was 22 years ago, we were able to conclude the framework agreement for BIMSTEC FTA. A trade negotiating committee was constituted. That committee has met 21 times so far. Under that committee, 6 working groups were constituted to negotiate agreements on rules of origin, trade in services, investments, trade facilitation, customs cooperation, and dispute settlement procedures and mechanisms. These working groups have been meeting regularly. For example, in 2025, 3 working groups held their meetings and they made some progress. But so far, none of the working groups have reached the stage where we can say they will be able to conclude the agreement that they have been negotiating. But going beyond these negotiations, BIMSTEC has been organizing in cooperation with ADB and some other partners capacity building seminars and workshops on trade facilitation, cross-border paperless trade and digital trade, improving transit systems, and establishing a cross-border digital payment to facilitate trade and travel. Apart from FTA, BIMSTEC has also taken initiatives towards promoting business-to-business linkages, which are equally important for promoting trade and investment. We have already 2 mechanisms. One is called BIMSTEC Economic Forum, The other is called BIMSTEC Business Forum. Unfortunately, these two forums have not met for a long time, and the time has come to revive them and make them functional. Some of the recent initiatives in establishing business-to-business linkages include BIMSTEC Business Conclave and Expo, which was hosted here in Kolkata by ICC in June 2023. And in August 2024, CII hosted a BIMSTEC Business Summit with the commitment to host it annually. Unfortunately, in 2025, it could not be held, but we are hopeful that in 2026, second BIMSTEC Business Summit will be held. BIMSTEC is in the process of establishing a Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We had circulated a concept paper to our member states, and 6 member states have already concurred to that. So very soon we should be able to initiate that. We are also in the process of seeking member states' concurrence to create a platform for investment promotion agencies of our member state so that there could be equal focus on promoting intra-BIMSTEC investments. And then concurrently, we have created a working group last year on fiscal and monetary policies. So our member states are moving beyond trade to look at some of the financial matters, particularly coordinating their fiscal and monetary policies. I think I have been running out of time, but I would briefly like to touch cooperation in 2 sectors. One in energy sector, because of its importance in the context of current energy crisis. Very briefly, there are 2 initiatives there. One is interconnection of the power grids of the member states. As you know, India's power grids are already connected to Bangladesh, to Bhutan and Nepal. And there are possibilities to take those connections forward to Myanmar and Thailand, and eventually connect with the grid of Sri Lanka also. So some technical agreements are being negotiated to make the grids functional. We have also established a BIMSTEC Energy Center in Bangalore, which will focus more on providing capacity building and technical assistance, and also working on as a secretariat for when the grid is interconnected, then energy saving and some movement towards cooperation in renewable energy sector. There we are already working with ISA, you would be familiar with, International Solar Alliance, to take their assistance. In connectivity sector, we have already a master plan. About 60% of projects in that master plan have been implemented. That master plan is being updated now. The updated version has been circulated to the member states. And recently, as I mentioned earlier, in maritime connectivity, we made progress with the agreement on maritime transport cooperation. And we have 1 round of negotiations already undertaken for a kind of motor vehicle agreement among the BIMSTEC member states. There is a lot that I can talk about my organization, the progress that we have made in 16 other sectors, but let me stop here and conclude by commending SNU and ICWA for organizing this timely conference, which is aimed at promoting intra-BIMSTEC trade, which can be drive for development and progress in our member states. Think tanks and academia, as well as media and students, have a critical role in promoting BIMSTEC. I'm glad so many students and scholars have joined today's conference, and I hope you would be the messengers of BIMSTEC and you will talk more about it, learn more about it. We have a network of BIMSTEC policy think tanks, but other think tanks have been playing very important role. And since we have a very rich community of think tanks, not only in India, but our other member states, that's why I have been encouraging all the think tanks to get involved with BIMSTEC and contribute to its success. I thank you all for your very kind attention for so long. I wish this conference a success, and I wish you all success in all your future endeavors. Have a good day. Namaskar. Jai Hind.
Ambassador Indramani Pandey, thank you very much for your very erudite address as the chief guest of the morning. Friends, we'll now release the report of the Indian Institute of Foreign Trade. May I request the dignitaries who were here, who spoke here, to kindly join us up here on stage. Ambassador Pandey, Mr. Abhijit Chakravarti, Dr. Dey, Dr. Prabir Dey, the Pro-Chancellor, Jyoti Chattopadhyay, would you kindly come and join us up here? So that is the report of the Indian Institute of Foreign Trade prepared for this program on BIMSTEC, being released by the dignitaries. Yes, I've said. It will be distributed to the audience in due course, please. So we've come to the first, the inaugural session, after which we'll have a back-to-back plenary session, the first plenary session. And at this stage, I'll request Bodhisattva Mukherjee, the Chief of Corporate Communications here at the university, to say a few words and propose a formal vote of thanks, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Sister Nivedita University, part of the larger Techno India group, it is my pleasure to propose a formal vote of thanks for this inaugural session of the BIMSTEC program here at our university. At the very first, my sincere gratitude and thanks to Excellency Ambassador Indramani Pandey, Secretary General BIMSTEC, Secretariat Dhaka, for his insightful and detailed address and putting the BIMSTEC framework in perspective. Thank you, sir, for taking the time out of your busy schedule and consenting to be with us at this important program. You have indeed set the ball rolling for an engaging discussion during the course of the day. My heartfelt thanks to Mr. Abhijit Chakravarti, Joint Secretary, ICWA, Indian Council of World Affairs, for your encouraging address and emphasizing the importance of India in context of its neighborhood. Thank you, Mr. Chakravarti, for also supporting this timely and important initiative and helping us organize this at our sister Nivedita University. My sincere thanks to Professor Prabir Dey, an expert on maritime economy from RIS New Delhi. You have given an elaborate presentation, sir, on the regional trade and integration in BIMSTEC, which has truly enlightened the audience present today. I take this opportunity to personally thank our Pro-Chancellor, sir, Professor Dr. Jyoti Chattopadhyay, for sharing your thoughts during the welcome address. And sir, thank you very much for your unwavering support to put this act together. I would also like this forum to appreciate and thank the students of SNU, of IIC, our team from the media department. Their tireless efforts has really put this program together. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very encouraging rounds of discussions during the course of the day. Our panelists, which span from consul generals from our neighboring countries, think tank members, academicians, representative from Exim Bank, and the valedictory address will be none other but by the Air Chief Marshal, Mr. Arup Raha, retired, who has agreed to deliver the valedictory address talking on the security in BIMSTEC region. So I'm sure you would enjoy the next rounds of discussion, and please be with us because I'm sure the discussions are going to be engaging and will also be enriching for all of you. With this, we come to the end of the inaugural session, and thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks very much, Bodhisattva. We move into the plenary session, and to take you through this session, the initial part, I will request Oindrila Mukherjee, my young colleague, to join me here, and she will initiate the discussions here.
Thank you so much for that very engrossing first session, and a big round of applause, please, for all our speakers, everybody who was there. I think it could be a little louder. Thank you. Thank you so much to everybody for making that morning very special for Sister Nivedita University. We have back-to-back sessions and discussions lined up, and I'm sure all of you present here today are waiting with bated breaths to listen to those discussions, to take insight. Our next is a plenary session. The deliberation will be on synchronizing legal framework to facilitate paperless trade in BIMSTEC countries. Of course, it touches upon the importance of legal framework that is needed, and of course, whether adopting the UN-CITRAL model will benefit BIMSTEC. I would request the speakers and the panelists please to come up on stage as I call their name. Mr. Bipul Chattopadhyay, Executive Director of CUTS International. He will be moderating the session. I would also request our Pro-Chancellor to please come up on stage and felicitate Mr. Chattopadhyay for us. Mr. Chattopadhyay has ably helmed the Executive Director post of CUTS International, a leading public policy research and advocacy organization. His extensive experience in economic policy, international trade, and consumer affairs. Over the years, he has contributed to policy dialogues at national and global levels, working closely with governments, international institutions, and civil society to promote sustainable development and inclusive growth. Of course, he is a student of DSC, but prior to that, he has something in common with our registrar, sir. He's also did his graduation from Shriram College. A big round of applause for students and our guests for Mr. Chattopadhyay. It's an absolute honor, sir, for us to be able to host you. Our next panelist, Madam Imon Kollan Lahiri. Dr. Imon Kollan Lahiri, so extremely sorry, is a former head of international relations at Jadavpur University, an academician with deep expertise in global studies and diplomacy. He has been actively involved in fostering international collaborations, student exchange programs, and academic partnership. His work focuses on strengthening cross-cultural understanding and advancing higher education through global engagement. Thank you so much, Dr. Lahiri, for being with us today. I would request our Pro-Chancellor to please felicitate Dr. Lahiri for us.
We have two more panelists here. Panchali Sen, Dr. Panchali Sen, Dean International Studies and Program, St. Xavier's University. Her research interests are in international relations, comparative politics, and global political economy. Graduated from St. Xavier's College, Calcutta. Dr. Panchali Sen went on to complete her master's in political science. She worked on her PhD thesis, The Role of Non-Aligned Movement in the Post-Cold War years, 1990 to 2000, and was awarded by the Jadavpur University, a former head of political science at St. Xavier's. She is currently the Dean, International Studies and Programs of the college. She is also the coordinator for the Human Rights and Duties Education course supported by the UGC. Currently, she is functioning as the academic collaborator in the Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India project on public administration with the Educational Multimedia Research Center, the MMRC. A big hand for Dr. Panchali Sen. What I'll do is I will call the other member together and we'll felicitate both of them at one go. Shobhushachi Dotto is the founder director of Asian Confluence, India East Asia Center. He's a social entrepreneur, educationist, artist, and a student of Indian history and international relations. He has spent 12 years at Silicon Valley, California, in cutting-edge technology, innovation, entrepreneurships in large corporations such as Sony, as well as several successful startups holding several patents. He left to start several social innovation projects in India. He pioneered a unique leadership program for rural youth of India, a unique model of youth-led rural development which was lauded by the World Bank. Shobhushachi pioneered the third space philosophy of the Asian Confluence, whereby, through a host of programs, the Asian Confluence as the premier think and do tank. That's a good thing. It's not just a think tank, it's a think and do tank. Located in India's northeast, providing an opportunity for civil society to enhance people-to-people contact between India and her neighbors, and also encourage a better understanding of the cultural and socio-political issues of the region. He holds a master's in electrical engineering from Arizona State University, United States. To felicitate both these scholars, may I request Dr. Madhurima to kindly, Madhumita, beg your pardon. Dr. Madhumita Guha Majumdar is the Pro-Vice Chancellor, Academics, Sister Nivedita University, to kindly come up and felicitate. I keep, at this old age of 64, I keep confusing names. Madhumita is a dear friend. She is my batchmate from Jadavpur University. So if I can mistake Madhumita's name, I have jolly well mistake it for many others. So that's Madhumita Guha Majumdar, a brilliant scholar, an economist by training, felicitating Dr. Sen. We will now felicitate Shobhushachi Dotto, Founder Director of Asian Confluence, the India East Asia Center.
I think we could manage a, greater round of applause, please, for all our speakers, all our panelists. They've taken out time to be part of this very important discussion. We now hand over the, platform to the moderator, and I'm sure a very insightful, deliberation is awaiting us. Thank you. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first of all thank Sister Nivedita University and the Indian Council of World Affairs for coming together and organizing this program. I think the program has come at a time, I would say at the right time, when we see where, here, where, there, everywhere. Yeah, this is the right time to talk about cooperation. BIMSTEC is one such example of regional cooperation we often tend to forget. There are various reasons for that, and I see that BIMSTEC is a good example of regional cooperation. Ambassador Pandey has already illuminated various initiatives which BIMSTEC is taking, BIMSTEC member countries are taking, and the facilitative role that BIMSTEC Secretariat is providing for all these agreements and MOUs, cooperation initiatives. Now here today we are going to talk about, this is very much aligned with the theme of this conference, about paperless trade. This session is to talk about the legal framework or legalities which are required for paperless trade to happen on the ground. So we have an excellent set of speakers, panelists, who are going to talk about the subject matter. All I would say that when you look at trade, the intra-regional trade among BIMSTEC countries is just about 5% of their total global trade. And people, while quoting that figure, people tend to conclude that as a result of this low volume of inter-regional trade, BIMSTEC countries are not that regionally connected. I don't agree with that conclusion for the simple reason that there is a large economy, India, in BIMSTEC, and our volume of trade in world trade is growing. Whereas the regional group is consisting of a number of small economies. For example, Bhutan, Maldives, even Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. These are relatively small economies. So the question is how much trade that they can do among themselves. That's a question that we always grapple with. Number two is that when we talk about regional cooperation, I think a better indicator of regional connectivity or regional cooperation in this case is it's not how much we are trading with each other, but how are we trading them? And there comes the importance of trade facilitation, how smoothly we are trading with each other. Since these are all neighboring countries, these countries are one of those regions in the world which is growing quite fast. I think the intra-regional trade volume is going to grow, and it will grow naturally. Praveen, for example, has done a lot of work on the gravity modeling. So each other are attracting each other, all these countries. They are becoming more and more economically linked. Therefore, international trade is going to grow. The question really is that how are we doing this trade? In that context, this paperless trade initiative, which BIMSTEC member countries have taken, becomes very, very important. The other point before I stop, I would like to make is that there are various flanking initiatives, flanking in the context of trade or paperless trade, trade facilitation, flanking initiatives that BIMSTEC member countries have taken. One such example is maritime cooperation. There could be cooperation in the field of transportation, road transport sector as well, going forward. So these initiatives are also, in my opinion, pillars of trade facilitation among the BIMSTEC countries. And let us see, we have to also see to it that two things, how these initiatives are getting implemented on the ground, that's number one. And number two, the political economy aspects of these initiatives, that how stakeholders are getting benefited or not as a result of the implementation of such initiatives. So with those words, let me now request Dr. Lahiri for his initial remarks or initial thoughts on legalities regarding paperless trade among BIMSTEC countries. We have about half an hour to 40 minutes for this panel discussion, if I understand correctly. So, max about 10 minutes. Dr. Lahiri?
I didn't go there. Yeah, I didn't go there. Good afternoon, everybody. My co-panelists on the dais, distinguished guests, ambassadors, Honorable Chancellor, Pro-Chancellors, distinguished faculty members, students. Now, this is a very important topic that we are discussing after a very long time that we are discussing on this particular issue. I can recall that Mr. Bodhisattva and myself was there in the Shillong conference, and it happened to be the convener of that conference in 2010 when first 1.5 track diplomacy was initiated by the Public Policy Division of the Ministry of External Affairs, when Dr. Shashi Tharoor was the MOS and Mr. Navdeep Shuri was the Joint Secretary of the Public Policy Division. It was held in Shillong. And for the first time, that MOS over there declared certain policies concerning BIMSTEC. Later on in 2012, another conference took place in Manipur, in Imphal, where Mr. Ranjan Mathai, who was the Foreign Secretary at that time, visited and inaugurated that program on BIMSTEC. The question is that we are discussing so many things for so many years, India's Act East policy, Look East policy, and so on. But we have to understand the reality that in 2012-13, when the border trade was initiated, even between India and Myanmar, like in More, Tamu, Zokhauthari,
Nothing is there that exists today. So borders are closed, and you know that there are so many problems that are happening inside and outside the country itself. We cannot trust each other sometimes. So paperless trade as a legal transformation is very important to understand, because we have to, it represents a paradigm shift in ontology of trade itself. So how do you define our ontology of trade? How do we digitally mediate the concept of trade and ultimately legally validate the transactions amongst ourselves, particularly the BIMSTEC nation, is a question to be analyzed and discussed. So, what I feel that synchronization of legal framework to ensure that digital transactions between the, particularly between the BIMSTEC countries, has to be recognized, enforceable, and also it must be interoperable across the borders. Now, the theoretical foundation based on which this can be initiated with the liberal institutional perspective that institutions reduce transaction costs and uncertainty. But can we reduce the uncertainty? This again remains a question within the structure of the BIMSTEC itself. Now, paperless trade functions as a facilitating institution, but only when it is supported by harmonized legal rules. And thus, it is the new institutional economies that we have to adapt within the structure of the trade that we have conceived so far. And these legal frameworks must be equivalent to formal institutions, and fragmented laws must increase transactions cost as well as uncertainty. Thus, harmonization process, it must enhance predictability as well as efficiency within this liberal institutional framework. So BIMSTEC reflects legal jurisdiction of legal pluralism in that way, where multiple legal traditions coexist. And without coordination, this leads to regulatory fragmentation, undermining digital trade. And this is giving us the understanding of constructivist insights, that is the norm diffusion quotient in the understanding of regional cooperation. Because adoption of certain laws that has been adopted by or that has been proclaimed by United Nations model of free trade, which reflect norm diffusion, where global legal norms are internalized domestically. And can we do that within the framework of BIMSTEC is another question to be analyzed. Because we need to create a shared expectations of legality. And it's not very easy to create a shared expectation of legality. This legal problem, that is the with the question of digital signatures and lack of cross-border enforceability. Now, you know that when we talk about trade, that these legal implications, this digital bill of lading must establish title, enable transfer, be admissible in court. Unless and until we can do that, considering all the countries, parties revert to paper, negating efficiency gains. Now, this is, I don't want to just extend it further, but what is the first aspect of my understanding is that these electronic signatures must be legally valid across jurisdictions. Sometimes we don't trust the passport given by different countries, then we are believing this kind of legal papers as far as trade is concerned. Even if it comes to the airport, how much time it consumes to get into an university or to a laboratory from the airport, if we just hire something or buy something, even the equipment, the scientific equipment from outside. So it requires trust infrastructure first. That is, the trust system, certification authorities must be trustworthy, and admissibility of digital evidence, because courts must accept electronic records as primary evidence. Reform of evidentiary law is essential. Laws must ensure no bias against electronic formats. Any country can use any kind of electronic format. It depends on the technology the country is having. But if there is a discrepancy between the formats also, then paperless diplomacy, paperless trade becomes difficult. And mutual recognition agreements, that is, harmonized legal standards, must be initiated. And the judicial challenges are that there must be divergent ICT laws, different standards of e-signatures and records, which law governs cross-border digital transaction must be clearly determined at the time of conflict of laws, data governance, there is a tension between data sovereignty and cross-border data flows, cybersecurity and liability, that is lack of harmonized liability regimes must create certain problems sometimes. So liability should be taken by all the countries and institutional capacity must be enhanced. Thus, governance and institutional solutions are there within the framework of BIMSTEC. So there must be a designed BIMSTEC digital trade protocol, mutual recognition agreements, regional coordination body, integration with national single windows, capacity building, public-private partnerships. Because you know that it's a long time we are striving hard with actist, lookist, and this kind of policies. But you know, even today the condition is much more worse after the problems in Bangladesh, problems in Manipur, problems in Myanmar. The things are becoming more and more difficult. So I think that BIMSTEC is there, the Secretary General is there, the Secretariat is there to understand the technology and the law interface that is required to make it digital, to establish a digital identity system and smart contracts. Otherwise, that India plays a significant role over here because it occupies a pivotal position in BIMSTEC due to its economic size, as my earlier speaker has already pointed out, institutional capacity and digital infrastructure. So norm entrepreneurship is important, adoption of standardization of legal systems and domestic legal framework because India has Information Technology Act of 2000, digital signature infrastructure, expanding digital governance ecosystem. However, full alignment remains with other countries remain incomplete. So reform is needed to enable electronic transferable records. And you know that digital public infrastructure, that is particularly which are the India's strength, Aadhaar, UPI, DigiLocker, this can be extended to cross-border trade documentation system. And leadership in regional platform, India can lead BIMSTEC negotiations on digital trade law, provide technical assistance to the other countries, other member countries of BIMSTEC. And from a geopolitical perspective, it can strengthen India's active policy, counter external influences in regional trade governance, and position India as a global South digital leader. So the developmental role is that India can support capacity building in Bhutan, Nepal. Economy trade will not be governed by paper or platforms alone, but by the capacity of legal systems to speak a common language across borders, transforming fragmented jurisdiction into a seamless architecture of trust. I must stop here. Thank you. We can discuss further on this.
Thank you, Dr. Lairi, for taking us through the various legal requirements and also possible initiatives which you can undertake in order for this paperless trade among BIMSTEC member countries to happen on the ground. On that, let me now request Dr. Panchali Sen to tell us about her thoughts. I would particularly request her to tell us the political possibilities of the initiatives which Dr. Lairi has spoken about, the political economy dimension, and whether our political leaders, would be, how they can be in a position to take a call for these initiatives to happen.
Good afternoon, everyone. Distinguished guests, Ambassador Pandey, respected Consul Generals, other guests, colleagues, my fellow panelists, Pro-Chancellor, Sister Nivedita University, and other hosts, and my dear friends and students. As we stand in March 2026, the Bay of Bengal is no longer just a body of water. It is the vital heart of a new economic era. Today, I want to discuss how we are securing a prosperous Bay of Bengal amidst the current global uncertainties by revolutionizing our most basic unit of commerce, that is the trade document amongst the BIMSTEC countries. Our focus is the transition to cross-border paperless trade within the BIMSTEC framework. Paperless trade, I'm sorry, the slides are, thank you. Paperless trade is the software that will make the hardware of our ports and ships work. The geopolitical context, particularly as I mentioned, as we stand in March 2026, is facing an era of de-risking and fragmented global value chains, with the BIMSTEC region representing 22% of the global population, serving as a critical maritime corridor. With global energy prices fluctuating, I will not mention any price for the barrels, the Bay's security is paramount. The SCAP anchor, that is the UN SCAP Program Framework Agreement on Facilitation of Cross-Border Paperless Trade in Asia and the Pacific, is promoting the region's digital transition. And the treaty also provides the legal roadmap for the 2026's inter-regional connectivity. Moving from passive proximity to active economic integration through the Bangkok Vision 2030 for a prosperous, resilient, and open BIMSTEC. We need to take note of the theoretical foundation of the concepts of digitization and digitalization in the context of paperless trade. With digitization, the conversion of physical trade instruments, particularly certificates of origin, the bills of lading, into static electronic formats, that's the PDFs. We generally, scan papers and convert them into PDFs. So it is a necessary step, but an insufficient first step. So we prefer, and we should move towards digitalization, that is the adoption of data-centric workflows, where structured data should be exchanged, and that will shift the focus from verifying documents to validating the data points, allowing for automated customs clearance and real-time risk assessment. Very important, the legal framework that would enable cross-border validity, dealing with legislative harmonization, particularly the implementation of the UNCITRAL model law on electronic transferable records and the SCAP CPTA to ensure that a digital record in Dhaka is legally equivalent to one in Bangkok. Transitioning the legal definition of ownership from physical possession of paper to exclusive control of a digital record, and also reviewing of the India Digital Trade Facilitation Act 2026 and its role in granting statutory equivalence to electronic trade documents across the Bay. Functional significance of enhancing the trade velocity, a reduction in the transaction costs. Analysis is currently showing that SCAP compliant paperless systems reduce administrative overhead by 15 to 30%. Trade finance optimization, leveraging digital proofs of possession to unlock liquidity for MSMEs, bridging the regional trade finance gap by allowing in-transit assets to serve as collaterals. And also in terms of the operating efficiency, that is transitioning to national single windows, facilitating single submission protocols for seamless transit between member states. For example, a Bangladesh, India, Thailand corridor. Would like to refer to the DPI approach, digital trade infrastructure approach, where there are certain interoperable pillars like identity, which is unified regional digital identities for legal entities, payment in terms of integration of real-time payment rails, that is the UPI, the prompt pay for instantaneous B2B settlements, and data exchange, utilizing open source protocols to ensure vendor neutrality and prevent digital monopolies. The trust architecture by establishing mutual recognition agreements for electronic signatures and also providing sanitary and phytosanitary certificates. There has to be a twin transition in terms of security and sustainability, dealing with maritime domain awareness, linking trade data of every individual country with the overall BIMSTEC framework, the MDA grid to monitor vessel movements and prevent illegal dark shipping in real time, cyber resilience, implementing security by design to protect the regional digital trade stack from ransomware, green trade imperative. Paperless trade saves an estimated 2.5 million tons of SEO to around $2 annually. That's the target, of course, by 2030. But we need to give it a serious thought with the current geopolitical situation in the world and the emission of carbon dioxide from the war. How much of it would be attainable by 2030 is under serious doubt. Sustainable logistics. For utilizing the BIMSTEC Sustainable Maritime Transport Center, which is in Mumbai, to optimize ship turnaround times and fuel emissions. what are the strategic challenges and the 2030 roadmap. We need to look at the infrastructure gap by addressing the digital divide between tier 1 economies and the less developed countries like Bangladesh and Nepal, particularly as they graduate from LDC status in the late 2026. Standardization, avoiding the digital silos by adhering to ESCAP technical standards for cross-border data exchange, and institutional strengthening, which is very important to make things work, enhancing the BIMSTEC Secretariat in Dhaka to oversee the trade facilitation strategic framework. Coming to the conclusion, we certainly look forward to a prosperous and integrated future, and therefore the aim for paperless trade is not merely just a technical upgrade, but a foundational requirement for a resilient and prosperous Bay of Bengal. Also, looking at the 2030 objective, looking forward, achieving a fully integrated paperless trade ecosystem in the BIMSTEC zone would serve as a global model, particularly at the present moment, for South-South cooperation. That is my humble presentation for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sen. So let me now come to Sabyasachi. Sabya, there are two things which I would like you to reflect upon and share your thoughts with us. One is the question of infrastructure gap. We all know that there is huge infrastructure gaps between these countries, and for various reasons, for valid reasons. How are we going to close that gap? And number two is that while closing infrastructure gaps, having hardware in place is one thing, but in order to make them operational is another step ahead. And there also we see significant gaps in financial resources as well as human resources. So what kind of technical assistance and capacity building program that you think could be useful for the BIMSTEC Secretariat to take up with support from agencies like World Bank or ADB or AIIB? Resources are there, I mean, monetary resources are there. They have to also access such resources and make them function, make better use of them. So let's hear your thought in about 8 to 10 minutes, Subbo.
Well, a very good afternoon, and it's really a pleasure to be here and at SNU, and I have an old association with Techno India, so it's a really a great pleasure to be here, and also to be here in the midst of our Secretary General from BIMSTEC and other dignitaries and Pro Vice Chancellor. Thank you for this invitation, Bodhisattva. I have not made a formal presentation, and I think you will be happy, Bipulda, because I'll try to answer your question. And a lot has been said since morning. And since I'm the last speaker on this panel, I'll kind of address what you have said. I think the speaker before me, Dr. Panchali, has really laid out a very robust set of issues that can be pursued technically as an architecture, and Professor Iman Kalyan Rahiri also talked about digital governance. But before we go into all of that, I think because there are so many students here, I just want to highlight one point. How many of you are reading Straits of Hormuz in the papers? Right? Straits of Hormuz. Uh, it's just to underscore the point that water bodies matter. Bodies of water, maritime, they make a huge difference. And I'm not equating anything here, but I would really put the Bay of Bengal as a very strategic body of water, right in our backyard. So, in that context, if you look at it historically and now, the Bay is really a connector. The Bay is a connector for all the countries in the littoral, whether it's India, Bangladesh, the mountain countries of Bhutan and Nepal. It is basically from the Himalayas to the Bay of Bengal. We're connected by the rivers, and then we have Myanmar, Thailand, and even Indonesia, which is not a member of BIMSTEC, but it is very much in our neighborhood, and the Andamans. So if you look at this water body and this connected geography, and Sri Lanka, of course, let's see what's happening right now. There is a very big investment by Google in Vishakhapatnam. It is, I think, a multi-billion-dollar investment, which will bring up a very big set of data centers. It is going to increase the number of undersea cables that crisscross the bay. In fact, I would say that we are next to a body of water which will be a very strategic body because of the future of how the world will operate, basically on the technological revolution of AI and data centers and cloud-based infrastructure. This is an opportunity, a great opportunity, and also a great challenge. The thing I want to say, secondly, is that being a sort of an engineer myself at some point in my life, it's all about putting systems together. There are systems which exist, but for paperless trade and seamless transactions, which are robust, resilient, and can be trusted, the key word is trust. The interoperability of these systems, how they are integrated with each other, is extremely important. So, for example, I think the Indian story of UPI is a great success story. How the Indian digital system has really integrated. You can buy a mango in the remotest part of the country today on a phone. I don't carry any cash with me. It's a great, great achievement. It has enabled it has become a great equalizer in many ways, broken many barriers. So technology has really the potential to do so. But when we are talking about paperless digital trade and payment, UPI is just a payment system. When we are talking about digital trade, it's not only payment, it is about data governance, which country owns which data, who governs the data, who owns the data, who validates the data, who authenticates the certificates, which standards do we follow. Most of the standards right now in the globe are based in other countries. In this whole geopolitical churn, which standards do we trust? So there are huge question marks. But I think, as Secretary General pointed out in his speech, I think we are living through very, very important times. We will look back at these times as being recorded as those that changed the course of history. And it is an opportunity to think afresh, to think anew. It is not only the preview of, I have been part of many standards committees. I've contributed to standards myself. But I have noticed that sometimes they are the hegemony of a few countries, or maybe one country. Now, when we are talking about the future of paperless governance, paperless trade, this question comes up. in a multipolar world. What is the world of tomorrow? What is the world order of tomorrow? Let's see. We are in a flux right now. But at the same time, I think here becomes the importance. India, the Bay of Bengal, and our immediate neighbors, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, Myanmar, Thailand, we all share a common geography. And can we not work together to build a new paradigm on this? Certainly possible. What is wrong? What is not there? You have the human capital, the manpower, the technology, everything is there. What is lacking is trust. How do we build trust? Trust in institutions. I'm not talking at a G2G level. I mean, I'm not talking bringing in politics. But how do we build trust is going to be a big concern, a big question mark for the future. And I think in that, whether it is political will of governments, whether it is institutional capabilities, whether it is awareness, I think really BIMSTEC is a mechanism which allows countries to talk to each other. There are mechanisms. It is the only multilateral body which actually can help the Bay of Bengal countries talk to each other. So it's a great opportunity, sir, and may I actually recommend that if the BIMSTEC Secretariat can also have a special working group on some of the standards that this region could look at in the future. Your question, people, was that you wanted to know about the politics of it, basically. I think my real point would be that people have to see, countries have to see value in adopting those standards, in adopting those mechanisms for the betterment of their own people. We have seen recently how in countries, in Nepal, we have a new regime. There is a new prime minister. We had a Gen Z revolution. We had the young people in Bangladesh. We have to look at how to meet the aspirations of youth, young people, or not only youth, the people on the ground. And for that, a recognition that working together for common good is beneficial to all. It's a win-win for all. That formula that narrative has to probably be underscored over and over again. Subhidra is here. I think, we see in the media, we do not see enough emphasis on regional cooperation nowadays. Sometimes even in BIMSTEC, we see a lot of people have just sort of, oh, what's going to happen? There's a lot of cynicism about regional cooperation. So I think the way to go forward, and it's students like you who can do more research. We have a Center for Bay of Bengal Studies in Shillong. You must be wondering, what is a Bay of Bengal Studies Center doing in the mountains? Precisely the point, to connect the dots. We open for internships. How do we connect entrepreneurs? How do we connect policymakers? And above all, how do we build capacity at all layers, from policymakers all the way to the entrepreneurs on the ground, to local politicians, to technocrats, on the value of cooperating with each other for generating common ways in how to collaborate. If we can collaborate, then the rest is an engineering problem that can be solved easily on how do you come up with standards and modes of governance. I think I'll stop here and leave some time for the chair to finish.
Thank you, Sabbav, for placing your thoughts before us. We have already run out of time. I'm conscious of that. So I'll end this session with two brief remarks. One is that we all know how trade happens, particularly through the land borders. I'm not saying only through land border, but also through all ports. And essentially, if I look at the trade facilitation mosaic, it is a number of services which various agencies are providing to exporters and importers. Here we are talking about how can those services be better delivered through digital means. So digitally delivered services. So that is what we are talking about. We all know, I don't have to elaborate here, that a lot of people are making a lot of money by not delivering such services properly in border. There is no harm in acknowledging that. So my question is, once we go digital, digitally delivered services, who is going to take care of their interest? Yeah. Those guys who are making a lot of money by not delivering services. I know Suvidha is itching to say something, but portable, okay. So that is one question. We have to keep this, I mean, this is a very practical question. We have to keep that in mind. And secondly, Sobbo, you were right in saying that water matters. I would say geography matters. Not just water, but the whole geography. And I see a lot of students are here. I guess some of them are also studying international relations. And I would request you, students, that while studying international relations, you should also side by side study geography. Yeah. Only then you will be able to understand the true meaning of all these new buzzwords: geopolitics, geostrategy, geoeconomics, etc., etc. I really request you to start with a book written by Tim Marshall, Prisoners of Geography. I was just searching for it, and I have read it, but I see that after this war, Iran war is taking place now. The sale of that book has gone up hugely. Prisoners of Geography by Tim Marshall. So with that, let me thank once again Sister Nivedita University, the leadership, the students and ICWA for organizing this program and for inviting me. I thank my fellow panelists for sharing their thoughts with us. It so happened, it's just a coincidence. Today is Friday, 20th of March. So it also, I come to Calcutta not that often these days, but once or twice a year. It so happened that coincidentally, today there is a match, Mohun Bagan versus Mumbai City FC. So after many, many, many years, I'm getting excited because I'm going to see that match. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chattopadhyay, for taking this session. Such insightful words, I would say. Thank you, Dr. Lahiri, for suggesting a PPP model. It was rather interesting because that is something I'm sure. Thank you for that point. I was actually actively listening, and I'm sure the students would agree. That is where we can hit really well. Also, Madam, for pointing out the difference between digitization and digitalization. Thank you so much. That was extremely important for our students because that difference makes everything synchronized. Also, the ESCAP model. That's also, I'm sure the students loved it. That insight was clearly very, very unique, I would say. And also, I actually loved the idea of national single window. Thank you, ma'am, for that. Thank you so much. That was, please, a round of applause for that. And of course, the PPP model. That was really something to take back. Thank you so much. And of course, to Mr. Dotto, for making us realize that, when we travel to the Southeast and Southeast Asian countries, what we miss is paying through UPI. Thank you so much. That was I'm sure the students face the same thing, and it would be wonderful if we go to one of these, in Thailand and Bangkok, and then we'd realize that we can pay through UPI. That would really, really help. I'm sure somebody is taking note and making this. So these sessions like these, give us real insights and give us points that will, stay with us and have the tendency to, create real changes. Thank you so much to the speakers, to the panelists and everybody. We will move on to the next session. I would request my co-host to please take over.
Thanks very much, Joindrila. We move to the special plenary session, and this is the session before lunch. Now, this is a deliberation on envisaging free trade, the role of member countries for economic integration in BIMSTEC. Introduction of paperless trade to speed up economic integration in BIMSTEC, economic transactions in border huts, complying safety protocols in BIMSTEC. Can border huts become nodal points for electronic data sharing among trade partners? And we have a truly erudite panel here. May I invite on stage Your Excellency Sir Aung Aung Mue Tiem, the Consul General of Myanmar. He is a career diplomat. He joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Myanmar in 1997. Amongst his many diplomatic assignments has been important postings in Berlin and Kathmandu. Mr. Jaka Prasad Acharya is a senior Nepali government official serving as the Consul General of Nepal in Kolkata, India, since 1st of December. He brings extensive experience in public finance, labor diplomacy, and administration, having held senior roles including Joint Secretary in various Nepali ministries and Public Service Commission. And it's a pleasure to invite on stage His Excellency Ambassador Sharbujit Chakraborty. He is a retired diplomat of the Indian Foreign Service at the batch of 1979. Ambassador Chakraborty has served as the Ambassador of India to Slovenia for 3 years. He has been an acting Director General of the Indian Council for World Affairs. He has been posted in several Indian missions overseas, including Madrid, London, Brussels, and Dhaka. He served in various capacities in the Ministry of External Affairs, alumnus of St. Stephen's, Delhi, and St. Columbus School. And that's so I think that's the panel, three of them. Okay, thank you. It's a very important panel, and all three, diplomats. One, our very homegrown Ambassador Chakraborty, our own, and the rest, of course, from our neighboring nations of Myanmar and Nepal. And we will greet our panelists. I would request the Pro-Chancellor to begin doing the honors. That's Professor Dhrubajyoti Chattopadhyay. And following suit will be Professor Madhumita Guha Majumdar, the Pro-Vice Chancellor, Academics. And then, of course, Shumanta Basu, the Registrar of Sister Nivedita University. Would you start coming up, please, Shumanta Basu? Please. It's a pleasure to see very important persons, in fact, very respected persons who have protected the nation in various ways. We have some very, very senior officers, retired officers of the Indian Army, and they're much more than that, of course, and of course, the Indian Police Service. I see the great Lieutenant General Johnny Mukherjee right in front. And of course, we have with us Jayanto Narayan Chaudhary, a former IPS officer, a former Director General of Police of Assam and DG NSG as well. And we also have retired Major General Arun Roy, a former General Officer Commanding of the Bengal Sub-Area. Very warm welcome to all of you, sirs. And so, is that okay? Oh, please carry on. This is, of course, I would have failed in my duties if I did not recognize some of them who I see here. Is Shumantu here, please? The registrar, would you walk across, please? We have forgotten to applaud. So this session really doesn't have a leader to lead, but I will request the senior most diplomat here, Ambassador Chakraborty, to move the session forward, if you could, sir. And so if you could initiate the session, and the rest, other two would follow, other two distinguished diplomats.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, pro-chancellors of the SNU University, my colleagues from the Indian Diplomatic Corps, especially Ambassador Pandey and Ambassador Obhijit Chakraborty, and all my young friends and guests and students here. First of all, let me wish you a very warm Eid Mubarak, and thank you for attending today. I warmly welcome my distinguished colleagues from Myanmar and Nepal, and invite the Consul General of Myanmar to kindly make his address.
Good afternoon. His Excellency Secretary General of the BIMSTEC, Honorable pro-chancellors of the university and distinguished guests, my fellow panelists, and the dear students, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor and privilege for me to participate in this special plenary session. I would like to express my utmost appreciation to the organizers for convening this timely conference on cross-border paperless trade and regional connectivity. The program rightly highlights the importance of digital trade facilitation, border trade mechanisms, and electronic data sharing in strengthening economic cooperation among BIMSTEC member states. The BIMSTEC region today represents more than 1.7 billion people and a combined GDP approximately, like the Honorable Secretary General said, around USD 5 trillion. Despite this immense economic potential, intra-BIMSTEC trade currently accounts for only around 6 to 7% of the region's total global trade. This clearly indicates that there remains substantial untapped potential for deeper regional economic integration. A brief reflection on Myanmar's trade patterns within BIMSTEC is instructive. According to data from the International Trade Center's trade map, Thailand and India are Myanmar's most significant BIMSTEC trading partners. Thailand accounts for around 1/4 of Myanmar's total exports, particularly in natural gas and agricultural products, while India accounts for approximately 5 to 6% of Myanmar's exports, with trade exceeding around 800 million USD annually in recent years. Bangladesh has also emerged as an increasingly important trading partner for Myanmar, particularly in agriculture and border trade, while trade with Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bhutan also remains relatively modest, but holds considerable potential for expansion in future. These trends demonstrate that regional economic linkages already exist between our region and could be further strengthened through improved connectivity and trade facilitation. One of the most effective ways to unlock this potential is through the promotion of paperless trade and digital trade facilitation mechanisms. Studies conducted by regional organizations such as UNESCO indicate that implementing cross-border paperless trade measures could reduce trade costs in Asia and the Pacific by an over 20%, while significantly improving the speed, transparency, and efficiency of customs procedures. In the case of Myanmar, Myanmar fully recognizes the importance of digital transformation in trade facilitation. The Ministry of Commerce of Myanmar has introduced a range of digital platforms designed to support exporters, importers, as well as investors, and to streamline trade procedures. The Directorate of Trade under the ministry operates several key digital systems. The TradeNet 2.0 platform allows businesses to apply for import and export licenses online, conduct exporter-importer registration, and complete digital payments. Complementing this is the import-export license and permit system, which enables traders to submit licensing applications electronically. Exporters may also obtain certificate of origin through an online application portal, facilitating smoother documentations for international trade. In addition, the Border Trade online system, now integrated under the Directorate of Trade, supports digital administration of border trade transactions. Another important institution under the Ministry of Commerce of Myanmar is Myantrade, which promotes Myanmar's exports and international market engagement. Through its website and digital services, Myantrade provides exporters with market information, export guidelines, and updates on trade events. It also operates the My E-Trade portal, which supports digital trade services and encourages e-commerce development among Myanmar enterprises. Digitization efforts also extend to other areas of trade administration. The Intellectual Property Department provides an online portal for intellectual property registration, while the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs Department manages digital systems that support product safety information and consumer complaint mechanisms integrated with the TradeNet platform. At the national level, the Myanmar National Trade Portal serves as a comprehensive online gateway providing information on trade procedures, regulatory requirements, and documentation for traders and investors. Importantly, most of these platforms now support digital payment systems. And since 2024, the TradeNet platform has been linked with Myanmar's taxpayer identification system, further strengthening transparency and efficiency in trade administration. These initiatives demonstrate Myanmar's commitment to gradually moving toward a fully digital trading ecosystem in future, which aligns closely with BIMSTEC's broader vision of paperless trade and economic integration. Myanmar's strategic geographical position also places it at the crossroad between South Asia and Southeast Asia. As the only BIMSTEC member state sharing land borders with both India and ASEAN countries, Myanmar plays an important role as a bridge connecting these dynamic regions. India remains Myanmar's one of the largest trading partners in South Asia and one of its most important global partners. Bilateral trade between the two countries has reached around 1.7 billion to 2 billion USD annually in recent years. Myanmar exports agricultural products such as beans and pulses, as well as fisheries and other primary commodities, while importing pharmaceuticals, machinery, and manufactured goods from India. Myanmar also benefits from duty-free access to the Indian market under India's duty-free tariff preference scheme for least developed countries like Myanmar, which has helped facilitate Myanmar's agricultural exports, particularly pulses that contribute significantly to India's food supply. In addition, the rupee and Myanmar currency rupee-Chat trade settlement mechanism introduced between the two countries provides an additional channel for facilitating cross-border payments and supporting bilateral trade flows. Border trade is another important dimension of economic cooperation. Myanmar and India recently conduct border trade through designated points such as Moritamu and Sokoda Ri, which support livelihoods and economic activity in border communities. The concept discussed today of economic transactions through border huts or border markets is therefore highly relevant. These arrangements can promote small-scale trade, support local entrepreneurship, and also strengthen people-to-people connectivity between the two countries through border trade. Looking ahead, such border trade locations could evolve beyond traditional markets. With appropriate infrastructure and digital systems, they could serve as nodal points for electronic data sharing, customs coordination, and logistics management among BIMSTEC partners. Also enabling even small-scale traders to participate in the regional digital trade ecosystem. These connectivity initiatives, combined with digital trade facilitation and paperless systems, can significantly reduce logistics costs, transaction costs, and create new opportunities for regional supply chains. Moving forward, BIMSTEC member states may wish to focus on three key priorities. First, harmonizing legal frameworks for electronic trade documentation. Second, strengthening digital infrastructure and interoperability among customs systems. And third, enhancing connectivity and border trade mechanisms to ensure that economic integration benefits both national economies and local communities as well. Myanmar remains fully committed to working closely with fellow BIMSTEC member states to advance these initiatives by promoting paperless trade, strengthening connectivity, and leveraging digital technologies. We can transform the Bay of Bengal region into a more integrated, efficient, and prosperous economic community. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Consul General of Myanmar, for this most illuminating, informative, and futuristic vision of where BIMSTEC can be in a few years' time. May I now request the representative of the newest and youngest government of BIMSTEC, the Consul General of Nepal, to outline his carnations and his own vision for the future of our cooperation within the BIMSTEC framework. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Respected General Secretary of BIMSTEC, Vice Chancellor of SNU, colleagues from ICWA, respected expert from the different field, professors from different universities, all excellencies, and all the concerned personalities from different agencies, and all the students. First of all, I would like to congratulate for the SNU and ICA and BIMSTEC for organizing this wonderful event, because it is basically focused on the Bay of Bengal members, and especially focused in I think it is the more useful for us, like the landlocked country of Nepal. It is the opportunity, but I was prepared as the level of the can answer question, but I use this forum to share my somehow the status of Nepal trade, what kind of problem we are facing right now. Fortunately, our moderator is the ex-diplomat from Nepal. I am very happy, and thank you, sir, for the cooperation for me. Basically, the core mission of this conference, I think, as I mentioned in the previous session, creating the enabling environment for the rapid economic development through the modernizing the trade framework, facilitating the cross-border paperless trade to reduce the transaction cost, increase the transparency, because we are basically facing this issue day to day. Cultivating the deeper understanding of the regional growth dynamics and they stimulate the investment flows. Advancing the BIMSTEC economic cooperation agenda breakthrough through the 2004 framework agreement. On this basis, the conference will also focus on the vital importance of the BIMSTEC trade to India's east and northeast region. Before going to the BIMSTEC, just I want to highlight some of the our treaty, our legal instrument, which we have been trading from Nepal to India. You all know that Nepal is the landlocked country. It lies between the India and China. Many people said that Nepal is a kind of sandwich. It lies in China and India. Now we say that Nepal is linked, India linked, because 3 parts are covered with the India and 1 part lies in the China. But China is in terms of geography very hard. China in terms of language we cannot understand and speak anything. In terms of culture, society, trade, commerce, it is different than India to China. It is just our diplomatic relationship with the China, so that we have very few trade. I just mentioned the trade data. India, we do have 70% import and 65% of export, or total volume of the trade. With the China, we do have only less than 1% of the total import, but there is no export from the Nepal. So this is the scenario of trade statistics of Nepal recently. So in terms of our transit treaty, first of all, Nepal and India has evolved the dependency framework established in 1950 treaty to modernize multimodal system. The relationship was severely tested in the many times. Despite the treaty protect ground level trade, remains some inefficiencies. Transit by road currently takes 2 to 2.7 times longer than idle, and rail rakes 2.4 times longer than the mutual paperwork and the port delays. Indian security concern often takes some excessive physical inspection during the time of transportation from the India to Nepal border. In the last 5 years, we have seen the progress in the crisis management infrastructure integration. Treaty of Transit was revised in 2023. In 2025, a later exchange liberalized the railways freight, expanding the access to the Biratnagar ICP and Nautunua, it is near the Bhairava of Nepal, while replacing the rigid 4-item limit with a open definition for all types of bulk cargo. At that time, before revising the 2025 letter of exchange, we have access only 4 types of cargo. It called the dusty cargo, coal, cement, fertilizer, and clinker. But now it is open for all kinds of cargo. In terms of bilateral transit treaty, Nepal's inherent right to the landlocked country to have a permanent access to the sea to promote the international trade. In terms of trade, we have been facing some of the issue we have only access to the 2 ports. You will know that we have a very longly. We have been using the Kolkata port only since 2015. The government of India has provided the access in the Vizag port. Now, Vizag is in the around 2,000 kilometers in the border of Nepal, and in Kolkata is around 800 kilometers from here. We have only two ports are in our jurisdiction. You know all the things. Kolkata is the riverine port. We have to transshipment all the cargo in the 2 to 3 times from Sagar to here. From Vizag, they have to use the road. There is no any other rail road. They have to use this road from the here to there. Recently, we have been discussing on the matter nowadays since 3 to 5 days with the concerned agencies of Nepal and the traders from Nepal. The rail restriction is the very crucial issue for the Nepal. Basically, in the Bihar and Jharkhand, I got the data this morning. In the idle time, it takes 3 to 5 days from here to Nepal border, but it has been taking around 15 days per day from here, and likely around 20 days from Vizag. So rail restriction is disturbing all our cargo. People cannot want to understand our voice, because you should be solve this issue from your one side, from the government side of India, or from the consulate side of India, or from the side of the embassy of India. So it is the main issue of the bilateral relationship. So we cannot solve the issue because we have a agreement, or railway agreement 2004. Accordingly, we have to solve all the issues. Like this, we have open border from Nepal and India, and we have we do have the unauthorized trade control agreement also. So we do have 4 kinds of legal instrument: so transit treaty, trade treaty, unauthorized control treaty, as well as the rail agreement. Being such kind of well managed and organized document, so we have been also facing some kind of problem. Being like this member of the SAARC, member of the BIMSTEC, member of the ASEAN, we do have different kind of mechanism to solve the issue, to resolve the issue time to time in the every field, but the result cannot be seen on time. So it is I think it is the inefficiencies of myself or the holistic. We have to rethink on it once open. So being the BIMSTEC member, I think this program is more focused in the paperless trade. How can we streamline the paperless trade and the integration of the economic development? In between, we do have the trade facilitation agreement in 2004. So basically, being on this agreement, so I request, I don't know what may be included or not. We are facing like this problem. It should be somehow seek the solution within the framework or in the bilateral dialogue with the members summit. There are different kinds of our mechanism, but it should be discussed and seeking the solution between on that. So basically, I want to focus some issues on that, which we are focusing during this trade and transport. The major issues is the hurdles of the high transaction cost due to the rail restriction, not getting the chance in the port congestion, sometimes some hassles during the transportation, some unauthorized persons capture our cargo. We are not getting the well support time to time because we have to write a letter, we have to convey the formal channel. It takes more time, and it may be the issues. Second one is the infrastructure congestion. I already mentioned here. In terms of Nepal, with the cooperation of the India, we have a 5 to 6 dry port. All the custom infrastructures are well managed with the coordination of India. So it is our side. From the side of India, you all know that the Syama Prasad Mukherjee port is the kind of riverine port. If we bring one vessel of the fertilizer, it takes 1 month to hold the packaging and send to Nepal, even though other ports can do the work within the night. So this kind of trade hassles and problems due to the infrastructure gap. In the previous session, sir was mentioned one issue. What are the infrastructure gap? I remember this issue here. Third is the lack of the transit diversity. I already mentioned here. we have only two access. We have a two port, Kolkata and Vizag. We are approaching the two port and two more ports, Dhamra and Mundra. We have the government of Nepal has sent the LOE, I think 2 to 3 years ago. It is under discussion still. The goods from the Mundra, we send it directly from the way of Kanpur through Lucknow. It will be only 34 hours. So we have to spend lots of time from here. So somehow the non-tariff, there is no issue. Some of the non-tariff barrier, like if any good, any consignment sent to the lab from the Birgans, we have to send in Kolkata. If we have to, any issue is raised in the Birgans, it is around 1,000 kilometers far from here. This consignment should send here for the lab purpose. Like this, we do have some sanitary issues. Other like the certificate, standard, BIS, many issues raised time to time. Or sometimes some of the security issues. We don't have a special dispute settlement mechanism, because if any issue is raised, who are the responsible to resolve this issue? Like this, the integrity of cargo is also major problem, because Nepali importers import suppose coal import from the third country, and this coal is tempered in between the transit time. So it is these are the more problem we have been facing, but we are always hopeful and we are always positive. We are always optimistic that we are getting the full support and full coordination with the government of India and all the partners, government agencies from here. In spite of we have been facing this issue. Also, finally, I request that we have a different mechanism like BIMSTEC, ASEAN, SAARC. So this institution should be mainstreaming, and they have to go some intervention time to time in terms of the part of the facilitation, not the intervention of the regulator, but we can do some work from the side of facilitation. So basically, I request that movement of goods, some of the gap we do gap mitigation, institutional coordination, and monitoring the mechanism for the implementation of the all legal document and mechanism what are being working, and we have to also move to the standard which is established by the international norms. So this is my basic issues, and I feel some easy, some light, because I share all the things from here. Looking forward that the solution, I am expecting all the support from your own side. I will get. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Consul General of Nepal, for that very illuminating presentation and outlining the ways in which multilateral organizations can support bilateral negotiations to ease trade management and facilitation issues. I have the proud privilege of being the last speaker before we break for lunch. So I will not take very much more of your time, because I'm sure you now need more food for the body than food for thought. I've been assigned the task of discussing the potential of border hearts to be electronically connected. That the question of border hearts has to begin with the question of maintaining security and tranquility on the borders of BIMSTEC countries. We have agreements which are bilateral for border hearts between India and Bangladesh and India and Myanmar. Now, Myanmar and Thailand may, of course, explore bilaterally the question of establishing markets for themselves. Now, the border huts, by definition, are very limited. They are reserved for people within a 5-kilometer radius of the border, and not more than 500 nationals from each side can trade on a single day. The market is only held weekly, and the total monetary volume of trade is only $200,000, because under the customs rules, people can only buy and sell $200 worth of goods each. So, unfortunately, out of these 15 border posts, only 4 are now operational. And so, rather than focus on the utility of connecting them electronically, which is in any case dependent on the heart management committees, I would like to suggest that we all need to focus first on the backbone that provides the carriage of digitized material. And therefore, what we would urge Ambassador Pandey to possibly promote is a pan-BIMSTEC telecommunication network, as we have done in Africa, the Pan-African Telecom Network, through the Telecommunication India Limited company. Once the backbone is strong and steady, then we can connect up with whatever source points and supply points we want. The second point I'd like to make is that we consider border huts to be a very limited facility for local people to exchange their products and produce, and it has a very limited number of goods for trade. But if the border areas are safe and secure, we can come to agreements to develop those areas to provide other services like medical care or education or larger sort of trade services than we can at present. We also can use the borders to facilitate the exchange of information. We can hold discussions and seminars like this one at particular points located on the borders where it is easier to have P2P contact. Finally, I would like to urge the students and faculty of SNU to keep up this very good work that they have started with this initiative, because for young people whom I see before me, connections with the world will be far more important in their lives, both personally and professionally, than it was possible in our days. And there is the potential for the BIMSTEC zone to multiply its trade manyfold and to provide more investments and integration and understanding among the people and businesses to make the region a far more prosperous one than it is today. Thank you very much for your very kind attention, and I'm sure you're all waiting to break for lunch, so I will end my oration here.
Thank you so much. So it was
I would say it's a very, this discussion led us to, deep, in a mode where we were quite concerned about the entire region. Thank you so much. We were all engrossed in our own thoughts with that one last summation. But a big round of applause for the panelists, please, for, identifying, I would say, gap areas. It takes a lot of courage to, bring out to the mass what are the challenging areas. Thank you so much, the Consul General of Myanmar, and of course, Mr. Prasad, for bringing out the possible areas of collaboration, and of course, Ambassador Chakraborty for that submission, because where we need to work, and that we have a lot of potential to collaborate. Thank you so much to all the panelists. I'm sure that was quite a learning experience this discussion was for our students and our guests. Thank you so much. We will indeed break for lunch now. We invite all of you. There's a lunch arranged downstairs. That is just not lunch, I assume. It's a networking lunch. Let's have a great time there as well. Thank you so much. We are breaking now, and we'll assemble in, say, about half an hour, 45 minutes. Thank you so much.